of America at War.
Day 2 of the war with Iraq brings the first ground offensive and the first soldier killed in action. A Marine shot and killed in southern Iraq. Hours earlier, 4 other Americans and 8 British soldiers were killed in a helicopter crash in Kuwait. Meanwhile, the air assault on Baghdad continues as Saddam Hussein's main palace was presumably hit overnight. We'll have the latest on America at War early this Friday morning, March 21st, 2003.
From CBS News, this special edition of The Early Show is part of our continuing coverage of America at War.
Good morning. It is 9 a.m. on the East Coast, and welcome to the Early Show's special coverage of America at War. 9 o'clock, as we say, on the East Coast. I'm Harry Smith, along with Renee Seiler and Hannah Storm. Julie Chen is in Kuwait City. Good morning, Julie.
Hey, good morning, or I should say good afternoon. It's 9 a.m. on the East Coast, as you just said, Harry. It is just past 5 p.m. on this day here in Kuwait City, the end of somewhat of a tense day. I'll have more in just a moment, but now let's head back to New York.
All righty, Julie, we'll get back to Kuwait in just a bit. Here is the latest news this morning. Word of the first American to die in combat. A U.S. Marine was shot and killed in southern Iraq. 4 others and 8 British troops died when their helicopter accidentally crashed in Kuwait yesterday. Allied forces are quickly advancing north through Iraqi Marines have captured the strategic port city of Qasr. Hundreds of Iraqi troops are already surrendering. For the second night in a row, U.S. cruise missiles and bombers hit Baghdad, including, as we understand it now, a presidential palace. Iraqi officials say Saddam Hussein survived the attacks. The CIA says it's Saddam's voice on that videotape, but still believe he was in a bunker that was hit and that his fate remains unknown. Hannah.
All right, CBS News correspondent John Roberts has been traveling all night long with the 1st Marine Division hurtling its way through southern Iraq, and he joins us via video phone. Good morning, John.
Here's some of the things that we've seen along the way. Most notably, the thing we haven't seen is any Iraqi troops, any Iraqi forces. We did pass through what looked like a Gulf War graveyard, an old battlefield with a lot of old tanks that were rusting away. But we also saw some new destruction as well. We saw a couple of tanks that were blown to bits, and you can still see the battle scars from them as well. We just passed through an area of desert, quite flat, easy to roll across, but nothing here is easy. There was a lot of unexploded ordnance, a couple of bombs that were littering this particular piece of desert, a lot of unexploded mortar rounds. So everywhere you look, even though the terrain is flat, you have to beware. We're also taking it very carefully, moving ahead for about an hour and then stopping just to check to make sure that there aren't troops that have dug themselves in. We just went past a couple of fighting positions that were empty and moving on. Also some reports from some of the command units that some of the units further to the north are starting to withdraw from their positions. Don't know if they're leaving the battlefield or if they're just regrouping to defend, move back toward Baghdad. But here's a shot at the front of our vehicle, rolling along here on a nice hard piece of road, and now at the back as the column follows up behind it.
All right, that's CBS News correspondent John Roberts in southern Iraq. Meanwhile, CBS News national security correspondent David Martin has not been sleeping much. He's been closely monitoring the war from the Pentagon. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning. One new development, a coalition Navy ship has intercepted an Iraqi barge that was loaded with sea mines. That is important. That would be the first evidence that Iraq is trying to mine the northern part of the Persian Gulf. And if they were to succeed in that, that would totally disrupt the flow of military goods into Kuwait and the flow of humanitarian goods into those southern ports of Iraq once they are seized and put under the control of the U.S. Marines. No evidence that any mines were laid, but evidence that they were trying to do it. In another development, out in western Iraq, the U.S. now controls 2 airfields out there. They were seized by Special Operations Forces, and that's important because that's the area from which Saddam would likely launch Scuds against Israel. So that further decreases the chances that Saddam could get off a shot against Israel. As for Baghdad, you can expect bombing to resume once night falls. We still haven't seen the all-out air assault that had been advertised before the start of the war, but U.S. officials say stay tuned. Hannah?
All right, and we will. CBS's David Martin at the Pentagon will check back with you in a bit. Now let's go back to Julie in Kuwait City. What's going on there, Jules?
All right, thanks a lot, Hannah. Here in Kuwait City, sirens warning of incoming missiles have been going off. A Kuwait official says an Iraqi missile has been shot down by a U.S. Patriot missile. And as we mentioned, a Marine helicopter CH-46 crashed in northern Kuwait. 4 Americans and 8 British Marines were killed. Hostile fire was not involved. Meanwhile, the U.S. is ready to move more troops into Iraq. Early Show national correspondent John Frankel is in northern Kuwait with the 101st Airborne and joins us by video phone. Hello to you, John.
Well, good afternoon, Julie. You talked about that Patriot missile that was able to intercept a missile. In fact, that came from this camp right here, Camp New Jersey, where the 101st Airborne out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky is based. And as we heard Bob McNamara explain, the families there have great concern for their loved ones here, men and women who are fighting this war, and they are chomping at the bit here to get in on the action. They hear about and listen to the maneuvers of other units, and they really want to get going, but they are coming under fire, and they have been for the last 24 hours, essentially, running back and forth to bunkers under various signs of alerts and missiles coming in. And in fact, this afternoon, once again, inside a bunker, we counted up to 5, 6, perhaps 7 missiles that were headed in this vicinity. We don't know if to this camp specifically or to the Adari complex, which is just a few miles away. We did hear them land, but again, as you mentioned, it was during the night, about 2:30 in the morning, when one of those missiles was intercepted by a Patriot missile that was launched from this base. And just over my shoulder, there's a battery of several Patriot missiles here. And it definitely speaks to the improvement of the technology as far as the Army is concerned in terms of intercepting some of those missiles. They've been more successful than they were 12 years ago. So again, the 101st here coming under attack mostly under the last 24 hours, and they are itching to join other units and move forward toward Iraq. Julie?
CBS's John Frankel in northern Kuwait. You stay safe. I know you're in good hands with the 101st, but you stay safe, John. Now I want to head things back to our New York studio and Renee.
All right, Julie, thank you. Retired Air Force General Perry Smith is a CBS News military analyst. General Smith, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, a couple of air bases that the Allied forces now have control of in western Iraq. How important is that to the mission?
It's very important, because then we can start flying airplanes like C-17s and other airplanes in there, unloading troops, and so we can begin using the 101st and other units, begin to move on Baghdad from the west as well as from the south. So that's a very important development.
Getting some reports that some oil fields are on fire, that's something that we did not want to see happen, because obviously it's detrimental to the mission, no doubt, and also in terms of rebuilding, it's important.
Absolutely important. Is the reason that Franks changed the entire plan, General Franks changed the entire plan to get in there quickly, to grab particularly the southern oil fields so they couldn't kick them off. His idea is win the peace, not so much win the war, but win the post-war period. And so that's the idea. Grab as many of those oil fields as you can before they light off, or grab them just after they light off before they really get going. And I think the Marines have, in fact, put a couple of them out. Talking
about getting in there quickly, they are certainly doing that. You said they're moving quicker than any time in history before, right? The Marines coming out of Kuwait and marching toward Baghdad.
The fastest major operation in history was Rommel in North Africa in 1941. He moved 250 miles in 5 days. It looks like our troops will move 300 miles or a little more in a lot less than 5 days. So this is the most significant operation on the ground in the history of warfare.
Why is that? Better technology, better tanks?
Better technology, better tanks, better tactics, and not all that much opposition. And knowing the opposition was weak, why not go fast and get this thing over with in a hurry?
Let's go back a couple of nights ago. That was the deadline for Saddam to disarm. That did not happen, and then the troops moved in. Are you surprised that there wasn't more time in between those two things?
Well, what happened, of course, was we had a pop-up target. We found in Baghdad that we had some real bad guys in a bunker. Frank says, can we get them? The Navy said, yes, we can get them with cruise missiles. The Air Force said, yes, we can get them with stealth fighters. They grabbed a couple of pilots and ran them to the airplanes. They ran out and briefed them in the cockpit. They got airborne. The cruise missiles were coming in from various directions from here. They were coming in from here. And as they come into Baghdad, here come the 117s all at the same time, even though the mission had not been planned ahead of time. And they did the job. The cruise missiles hit certain targets, and then the stealth bombers, stealth fighters, dropped their bunker busters into those bunkers, and it was a real quick operation. It was not planned, but it was pulled off very well.
All right, let's try to get into Saddam's head just for a moment here. How important is it for him to show that he is okay to his troops and the people fighting for him?
It's terribly important now because the propaganda campaign that we've run is being successful. A lot of people are surrendering, so he's very concerned about holding some forces that he can control, so he needs to get the message out to them that he's still in control.
All right, thanks, General. Appreciate it. All right, Harry, let's go over to you.
Thanks, Renee. Last night, the Senate unanimously approved a resolution in support of the American troops and President Bush. The House approved a similar measure early today on a 392-11 vote. Earlier, I spoke with Senate Democratic leader Tom Daschle. He said the measure shows that after some rancorous debate, Congress can set aside partisan bickering and rally around the president.
Well, I think it was a wonderful opportunity for us to demonstrate that whatever differences we have had before this started are gone as we consider now the support for our troops, our admiration for what they're doing, and our great expectation and hope that they'll return safely, having succeeded in their mission. We also indicated our support for the Commander-in-Chief and expressed our appreciation to Tony Blair and the leadership that he's shown. So it was a rare moment these days in Congress, but it was a good one.
You were under a certain amount of criticism, especially directly from the White House, as the day before the war actually began. You talked about the failure of diplomacy. Did you feel along the way, and especially in the hours after that, that some Republicans were actually questioning your patriotism?
Well, I did, Harry. I think that it's unfortunate that in this time when we're fighting for democracy, there are some in this country who would squelch it. But that's behind us. I think now the most important thing we can do is to show the unity and show the support and show our great appreciation for the work and the effort of our troops.
As a member of the United States Senate, sometimes you're privy to information that isn't necessarily available to some of us. What are things that you're hearing, that are indices that you may have available to you that gives you some sort of extra illumination in terms of how the war effort is going?
Well, you all do such a great job these days. I'm not sure there's much that the general public doesn't know that we know. I think it's a good opportunity for us, really, to be briefed on a regular basis. We were briefed last night by the Secretary of Defense. We're going to be briefed again this morning by members of both the Defense Department as well as the CIA. So we're being briefed, but it's in large measure maybe a little more specificity and a little more confirmation of the things that you're reporting quite regularly this morning.
There have been a number of protests around the country, dozens and dozens of arrests specifically in San Francisco. Talk to me a minute about the idea of people using civil disobedience at a time like this, tying up police and other law enforcement officials, especially at a time when we're at heightened security alert.
Well, I know that it poses some very serious challenges for our law enforcement and first responders. I think that is a real concern. But again, this is a democracy. I may disagree with their position or their tactics, but in a democracy, I think we have to expect some of that. The freedom to express oneself is really what we're fighting about in Iraq. So, as I say, I think that while it does pose some very serious problems, I think those are problems to be expected under circumstances like this.
This is Senate Minority Leader Tom Daschle. Time for a check of the nation's weather. Showers and thunderstorms will be scattered across the Northeast. Flooding is possible in some areas. Now here's an early look at what's going on in your area.
Well, this morning across Middle Tennessee, we do have clouds moving in across the area. A slight chance of a few patchy light showers. Doesn't look like any heavy rains or thunderstorm activity across Middle Tennessee today, though. Take a look at the 7-day forecast. About 62 the high, but especially north and west of town, some folks are going to be stuck in the 50s for daytime highs. Tonight down to 42. Saturday maybe starting off the day with some clouds, and then they'll try to break up 62 65 on Sunday, and then all the way up close to 70 again by the time we hit Monday into Tuesday.
Coming up next, the mood of America now that we are a nation at war.
And then later, a U.S. fighter pilot who's a veteran of the first Gulf War.
You're watching The Early Show on CBS.
You've heard about Gemini Auto Service. Gemini guarantees you straight answers and upfront pricing, all backed by a nationwide warranty. But Gemini means more to us at Jennings Tire and American Tire. It means problem solving, because there can be a lot of reasons why your engine overheats. That's why Kenny Johnson, 6 years with American Tire, and others like him specialize in solving coolant problems. It's their skill and commitment that allows me to say, we're not just mechanics, we're problem solvers.
There's nothing like getting something free. During free days at Sofa Connection, you've got your choice of these 3 beautiful sofas at an unbelievable $6.99. And during this event, you'll get the matching love seat absolutely free. They're all in stock and ready for immediate delivery. Plus, it's all interest-free with no payment of any kind for a full year. Wow, sofa and free love seat, only $6.99. Free financing. Hurry in. It's all at Sofa Connection free days.
America at War coverage continues on a special edition of The Early Show. Stay with us.
CSI Season 1 on DVD. All 23 episodes on a 6-disc set. Go behind the scenes with an exclusive featurette, music video, and character profiles. CSI Season 1, only March 25th on DVD.
This is no place for a bandage. Till now. From Band-Aid brand comes the Liquid Bandage, an instant waterproof seal that stays on anywhere, which helps every cut heal fast. Liquid Bandage from Band-Aid brand.
In the future, everyone's glasses will automatically adjust to changing light and block out harmful UV rays that can damage the eyes. But for those with transitions lenses, the future is already here. Ask your eye care professional, because the danger is real now, and so is the protection. Transitions, right in any light.
Welcome back to The Early Show. I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Renee Seiler. Still ahead this morning, more live updates from our correspondents with American troops as they move into Iraq.
First, though, here's Hannah.
Thanks. As the war has unfolded, Americans have been glued to their televisions and their radios from coast to coast. Early Show national correspondent Hattie Kaufman reports now on the mood of our nation.
Americans rallied around the flag, from New York's Ground Zero.
It's time that we get rid of that monster.
To a Texas steakhouse.
I think we need to stand up and support our president.
To Southern California.
I don't want to wait until there's another September 11th or something happens again on American soil. I feel like we need to go in there, we need to get them out, we need to do it quickly.
Our streets! Our streets! Anti-war activists took to the streets in scattered protests. There were arrests in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and other cities. Everywhere, security was tightened, from the nation's power plants to its airports. Travelers refused to be stopped by war fears.
I'm pretty confident about traveling today.
Some Americans going about their daily lives chose to ignore the war, or at least they tried to.
Drinkers at Yankee Doodle's Tavern in Santa Monica were more interested in watching the NCAA tournament.
This is a good way to get away from the war for a little bit. Just kind of a release.
Cheer for your team.
Cheer for my team.
But even the play-by-play commentators were affected.
It's kind of a strange way to start the tournament, isn't it?
It really is when you think about what's going on in Iraq.
Still, the basketball cheerleaders kept up their spirit.
Life still has to go on, and this is part of a tradition.
As if everything were normal, plans proceeded for Sunday's Oscar Awards.
It certainly can be done in a much more muted and a much more respectful fashion, then there's no reason for it not to go on.
Even the celebrity primping was set to go.
Everyone's trying to keep their head up, you know, and a small way to do it is to feel good about yourself, so here we are.
But the ceremony to give Celine Dion a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame was canceled. The singer said it wouldn't be appropriate. The seesaw of emotions has some trying to vent their anxiety at the gym.
You can't really do anything now without getting
bombarded by what's happening on the news with this.
And working out helps you?
Absolutely. Coming here and working out and getting some frustration out.
Others turned to church. Iraqi Americans felt a special gratitude.
Our heart with the American soldier and with our family in back my country.
For The Early Show, Hattie Kaufman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
As the American assault on Iraq intensifies, authorities here at home are stepping up all phases of security, from strengthening borders and airports to trying to protect food supplies. Randy Larson is the director of the Answer Institute for Homeland Security. Good morning, Colonel Larson.
Good morning, Hannah.
Well, we're still at orange alert here. A lot of families have spring break coming up. Maybe they have plans to travel with their children. Should they hop on an airplane?
Well, it's a serious decision for a lot of school districts. I was talking to one in New Jersey last week, and they have $250,000 worth of tickets and things to go to Disney World that are non-refundable. Should they go? The answer is yes, we should. We must continue on. Is there a possibility that there's going to be a few terrorist attacks in the next couple of weeks? Yes, there is. But I can tell you over the Memorial Day weekend, there's going to be 400 people killed in automobile accidents. We do that every year. But we go on with our holidays, we go on with our lives, and we should do that right now. It's very important.
But could you speak more specifically about airline security and what measures are being taken?
Well, I've been doing some flying recently in this week, and I was really surprised. Security is much higher, and yet TSA is doing a marvelous job. I came through the St. Louis and Washington, D.C. airports Tuesday evening on a very high orange alert. I got through there quickly, efficiently, and yet you could see there was more presence of police officers in the area. There were more security checks, but I'm impressed with their system, so I think it's completely safe to fly. I let my family fly right now.
All right, Colonel Larson, what about our water supply, this elaborate system? How do we secure our reservoirs? What's being done there? And are you confident in the security of our water supply?
You know, that's one of the most common questions I've received over about the last 10 years when we talk about Homeland Security, and really water supply is extremely safe. And if you go back to what the environmentalists say, they say the solution...
Charlotte's Web 2, Wilbur's Great Adventure, only on DVD and video.
I'm Wilbur.
The story you loved as a child continues. Now share it with your little ones.
I'm glad you're my friend.
Buy it today on DVD and video. Rated G.
When my doctor said Zocor was right for me, I stayed with it. Ask your doctor if Zocor could work for you. Zocor. Be there.
Yes, let's stay together.
We all know where your usual breakfast usually ends up. Eat something good. Nutri-Grain.
Taxi.
Respect yourself in the morning.
Pain is such a pain when you're a mother. But you've got Mom's Motrin. Motrin IB. Fast and furious. For moms who don't fool around with pain.
Good morning, I'm Susan McGinnis. More ahead on a special edition of The Early Show. First, here's a look at this morning's headlines. U.S. forces are conducting an intensive search in southern Afghanistan for al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Helicopters scouring the rugged mountainous region are providing support for soldiers conducting house-to-house searches. 12 people have been arrested. A hearing officer is recommending 2 Air Force pilots not be court-martialed. They were accused in the so-called friendly fire bombing that killed 4 Canadian soldiers in Afghanistan. The hearing officer ruled it a mistake. The final decision rests with an Air Force commander. For some, the war with Iraq can seem like an abstraction, a conflict in some distant place over a foreign policy issue. But there are real people involved, soldiers and sailors. Bob McNamara reports from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, on some families left behind.
War's beginning brought a rush of fear to this Army town.
We all realize it's real and that we have no control over what goes on.
23, 57. While life is usually by the numbers and by the book, war is a wild card.
No sleep. A lot of explaining to the kids to do. That Daddy's not going to come home as soon as maybe we thought he would.
Cheryl Snap keeps her husband Frank close.
Well, I have his dog tags that he gave me. He had these made for me to keep with me and close. It's a reminder.
With 19,000 of Fort Campbell's airborne troops in the war zone, Reservists are arriving here for processing, like the medical attention necessary for them to join the fighting. Rick Mullins is one of 7 Tennessee reservists headed for the war zone with their sons. He promised his wife their son Jeff would come home, even if it meant giving his own life.
I'll guarantee you, no question, in my mind, he'll come home before I will if I have to. If I got anything to say about it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Dozens of soldiers were married by Judge Steve Tribble just before they left for the Gulf.
It was a hectic day. It was wild.
His fear is some of those names could appear on casualty lists.
Absolutely. And I mean, there may be several of them that don't come back.
This was one of his patches, and I had kept it with me all this time.
Seamstress Marilyn Fry's brother was killed in the Gulf War. Now she works 12 hours a day, sewing airborne patches to uniforms for another desert conflict.
We never got to say goodbye, but you get over it. I mean, you actually never get over it, but you deal with it.
Marilyn Fry has sewn thousands of these flags on uniforms lately. And like many here, she is hoping and praying that the men and women who wear them will come back to Fort Campbell alive. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
And around Denver, the cleanup continues from the worst blizzard in 90 years. Up to 7 feet of snow fell in some places. Flights resumed at the airport, which had been closed. The snow ripped a hole in the tent-like fabric that covers the airport's main terminal. There is more ahead on the early show with our continuing coverage of America at War. I'm Susie.
Everybody Loves Raymond, Monday on CBS. It's all here.
Now through Tuesday only, don't miss the ultimate 12th anniversary mattress sale at Rooms To Go. Get next day delivery in most markets. The Rooms To Go 60-day comfort trial to guarantee your satisfaction, plus removal of your old mattress. During this amazing sale, you'll find a huge selection of famous brand mattresses. Every brand and firmness reduced to shocking low prices. Prices no one else can beat. So forget department and bedding stores. Hurry to the ultimate 12th anniversary mattress sale at Rooms To Go, now through Tuesday only.
Hi, I'm Brandy Cox, and things are really happening downtown at Hanson Chrysler Jeep. Get rebates up to $4,000, plus 0% financing for 60 months on 03 Town & Countries and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Or take up to $8,000 off the list price. Now that's the Hanson difference. With great products, great protection, and great deals, it's the best values in America. Things really are happening downtown at Hanson.
Keep watching News Channel 5 for continuing coverage of America at War.
The U.S.-led ground offensive is well underway in the war against Iraq, with armored convoys pushing into southern Iraq today. Meanwhile, defense officials today reporting the first American combat casualty, a Marine shot dead in southern Iraq.
Good morning and welcome back to the second hour of the early show special coverage of America at War. I'm Harry Smith along with Renee Seiler and Hannah Storm. It's 9:30 Eastern Time. Julie Chen is in Kuwait City. Want to say check in with her again. Julie, good morning.
Good morning or good afternoon, Harry. I know the picture behind me doesn't look like it's very dark out right now, but it's 5:30 in the evening and the sun will be setting in the next 30 to 40 minutes. We're hoping for a quiet evening here in Kuwait. Back to Renee in New York.
All right, Julie, we'll hear from you just a little bit later. Thank you. First, the headlines, though. An American Marine has been shot and killed as he advanced on oil fields in southern Iraq. And an accidental helicopter crash killed 4 other Marines and 8 British troops. Allied ground forces are quickly advancing through southern Iraq. This morning, they captured 2 strategic air bases in the west and a key port city. American B-52 bombers took off from Britain, pressing the air campaign. And U.S. missiles hit Baghdad for the second night in a row, including a presidential palace. Iraqi officials say Saddam Hussein survived the American airstrikes. And now U.S. analysts confirm that the voice on this tape is that of Saddam Hussein, but it is unclear when the tape was made.
The U.S. 1st Marine Division is making fast progress through southern Kuwait. CBS News correspondent John Roberts is with the Marines and reports via video phone. All right, we will try and get John Roberts' report in just a little bit. Right now, though, we're going to Julie in Kuwait City. Julie, check in.
All right, thanks a lot, Harry. Iraqi officials today say 37 people were injured in a second night of bombing in Baghdad. David Shader of Sky News reports from Baghdad.
The wail of sirens and a shower of anti-aircraft fire bursting into the night sky heralded the second successive night of attacks on the Iraqi capital. The cruise missiles found their target, sending up huge pools of smoke and shock waves across the river Tigris in the very center of the city. Fires started burning fiercely throughout the night as ambulances raced to the scene. These are some of the casualties from the attack. The Iraqi doctors told me 7 members of this family were injured. One of them told me he'd been hit by flying shrapnel, which had badly injured his brother in the neighboring bed. Far from fracturing or cowing the population of the city, the attacks actually appear to be rallying support at street level behind the Iraqi leader. Armed members of the ruling Ba'ath Party stopped me as I passed their headquarters to express their contempt for the attacks. The Iraqis see themselves matched against the Goliath of modern technology, but they still seem determined to bring the giant down.
This is David Chater for CBS News in Baghdad.
As U.S. troops are moving swiftly into Iraq, CBS News correspondent Alan Pizzi is in northern Iraq. Hello, Alan.
Hello, Julie. Well, permission for U.S. planes to use Turkish airspace to reach the war front in northern Iraq has been slowed up because the Turkish authorities are asking for control over those flights and demanding what the Turks refer to as greater freedom to put their own forces across the border into Kurdish-controlled areas. That would bring them into conflict with Kurdish guerrillas, who say they are more than happy to put themselves under American command for any assault on the northern oil fields around the city of Mosul and Kirkuk. But Turks would only be welcome here if they were also under U.S. control. Both Saddam and the Turks are our enemies, guerrilla fighter Shahs Majid says. Indeed, the Kurdish guerrillas, known as Peshmerga, have spent almost as much time fighting Turks over the years as they have each other and Saddam Hussein. The Turks fear that once Saddam is gone, the Kurds will establish an independent state, which would spur the nationalist intentions of Kurds who live in southern Turkey. Iraqi Kurds say that won't happen, that all they want to do is throw out Saddam, whose troops are within sight of their own lines. The Kurds claim these men will give up as soon as the shooting starts, but so far none have. Today they were reinforcing their bunkers and working on a road that is said to be mined. It leads to the main prize of the Northern Front, the airfield and oil wells of Kirkuk. But if the Turks cannot be restrained, it will complicate even further an already complicated situation and could bring an even worse scenario, a war within a war. America's allies fighting America's allies. Just what they didn't need. Julie?
That would be disastrous. CBS's Alan Pizzi in northern Iraq. Thank you. And now let's head back to our New York studio and Renee.
All right, Julie, thank you. Let's now get the latest from the White House from CBS News correspondent Bill Plant. Bill, good morning.
Renee, good morning to you. The president learned first thing this morning about the first U.S. casualties in Iraq. The Marine who was shot in the advance on the oil fields in the south, and the 4 other Marines who died in a helicopter crash along with 8 British troops. He expressed his condolences through a spokesman early this morning. An administration official says that this is just a reminder of the kind of sacrifices that Mr. Bush has talked about as the nation goes to war. The President held a war cabinet meeting, as he does every morning. Secretary Rumsfeld was here. Secretary Powell just left. And although Mr. Bush has been keeping a pretty low profile over these past couple of weeks, we will hear from him this morning. He meets with the bipartisan congressional leadership to give them a war update in just about an hour. So we expect to hear Mr. Bush there talk about the war and probably throw in something about his economic priorities as well. The President is going to Camp David this afternoon. Asked why, his people say, well, he can run things just as well from up there as he can from here. And besides, his father went there on the first weekend of the Gulf War. Renee?
All right, Bill Plant at the White House. Thank you. Checking the nation's weather now, 3 to 6 inches of snow will fall across the southern Rockies. But this time, Denver is expected to remain dry. Here now is an early look at what's going on in your area.
Well, this morning across Middle Tennessee, we do have clouds moving in across the area. A slight chance of a few patchy light showers. Doesn't look like any heavy rains or thunderstorm activity across Middle Tennessee today, though. Take a look at the 7-day forecast. About 62 the high, but especially north and west of town, some folks are going to be stuck in the 50s for daytime highs. Tonight down to 42. Saturday maybe starting off the day with some clouds, and then they'll try to break up 62, 65 on Sunday, and then all the way up close to 70 again by the time we hit Monday into Tuesday.
Thus far, very quiet on the battlefield as best as we can ascertain from our in-bed reporters. John Roberts, I mean, is just rolling north on this highway with these Marine advance group toward Baghdad.
Right up to 50 miles an hour at times.
Well, it's the
right?
second, it's actually the fastest that troops have ever moved. We heard General Perry Smith talk about that.
Meanwhile, things, perhaps a hornet's nest stirring up in northern Iraq. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens there, especially if Turkish troops advance across the border.
I think the other kind of words that I heard this morning was the stay tuned about. We've said, where is shock and awe? Where is shock and awe? Cynthia Bowers is on the Abraham Lincoln, and she's talking about the heavy loading up the bombs there, and also the B-52s being loaded up in the United Kingdom.
Absolutely. Well, up next, a look at the dangers of combat from a veteran who's fought in Iraq before.
Kraft cheese nips made with 100% real Kraft cheese.
Oh, I love Kraft cheese.
Oh, one per person, please.
Oh, okay.
Taste for yourself. Cheese lovers choose Kraft cheese nips.
That's more than one!
Now, only in theaters. Tigger, Pooh, and all their friends are back in a big new movie critics call delightful, magical, the best Pooh film yet. Piglet's Big Movie, rated G, featuring new songs by Carly Simon. Now in theaters.
Oh, joy.
tomato juice has a light and refreshing squeeze of lemon. It's another delicious way to get your full serving of vegetables. In fact, sometimes it's the only way. Lemon Twist V8, a new way to drink smarter.
Come into Sears now for our spring sale. Hurry in today to save on apostrophe. Save up to 30% on all apostrophe fashions, only at Sears.
At St. Thomas Neurosciences Institute, you can find your strength by relying on ours. Our physicians and staff are here to provide expert treatment, rehabilitation, and preventative education for stroke and other neurological conditions. And our 7 centers of excellence combine a tradition of faith-based healing with advanced technology, an approach that can help you live a stronger and healthier life. Stay well. Together we can.
Lee Company, for your heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing needs. Receive a free fall tune-up when scheduling your $79 spring tune-up. Take comfort with Lee.
Kraft cheese nips made with 100% real Kraft cheese.
Oh, I love Kraft cheese.
Oh, 1 per person, please.
Oh, okay.
Taste for yourself. Cheese lovers choose Kraft cheese nips.
That's more than 1!
There are over 3 dozen muscles in the human jaw. When hunger strikes, you'll be glad you have every last one of them. Triscuit. Definitely not for nibblers.
Keep watching News Channel 5 for continuing coverage of America at War.
During the first Gulf War, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Fox flew over 24 missions. His job was to locate enemy targets in Iraq so American bombers could do their work. During one of his missions, his plane was shot down and he was captured by Iraqi soldiers. He spent 15 days in captivity before his release. Lieutenant Fox joins us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
What kind of airplane were you flying in the first Gulf War?
I was flying an A-10.
Which is a Warthog, is usually a tank killer. What was your job over there?
My mission was, I was a forward air controller. And my mission was to go into the target area or the kill box and locate targets, mark them, and when the aircraft came into the target area that had the ordnance, then I would locate them, mark the target so that they could bomb them quickly.
And where were you doing business?
I was stationed out of King Fahd Air Base in Saudi Arabia.
But your missions were primarily over what?
Over Iraq and the borders of Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about what that experience is like, what some of our pilots may be encountering now as they fly over that similar territory.
Well, I mean, you were pretty much fired at every day. You would receive AAA fire. But it wasn't all that bad, but there was AAA fire on every mission.
Right. Now, we've seen the AAA, especially in Baghdad, but my goodness, especially after the onslaught last night, that the ordnance that was poured into southern Iraq, are you a little surprised or at least impressed by the ease with which American troops are moving into southern Iraq right now?
Oh yes, I think it's awesome. How well they're doing. I think it's great.
Now, because the other thing that is pretty clear that whatever forces were available down there, it seems like from the enforcement of the no-fly zone and from the attacks that have gone over the last couple of days, that whatever resistance was there is pretty much gone. Was that agree with your assessment? What do you see?
I would agree. For example, when I was shot down, I was about 12 miles into Iraq, and I was captured immediately by soldiers. So the fact that there are no soldiers at that point, I think, verifies what you just said. Yes, the soldiers have moved out.
And when you were captured, what happened?
Well, I was captured, and eventually I was taken up to Baghdad.
How were you treated?
In Baghdad, I was treated extremely cruelly. They would beat you up, broke my eardrum. They threatened you with death. They blew a gun off in my right ear. They strip search you, check to see if you were circumcised. It was just one thing after another.
15 days you were held captive. Did you ever have a moment during those 15 days when you thought, maybe I'm not going to get out of here?
Well, yes, there were several times. For example, when the Ba'ath Party headquarters was bombed and the building started to collapse, and we almost lost our lives there. And then several times I actually thought, well, this might be the last day.
You've got a personal stake in this war from your experience the last time around. What are your emotions like in the last 20 seconds we've got left as this war is being waged right now?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thanks to all the men and women in the United States military, and I hope that they'll get this thing done quickly so that we can eliminate the threat to our men, women, and children.
All right, Lieutenant Jeff Fox, we thank you very much for your service and appreciate you chatting with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Up next, the politics of warfare. We're going to get reaction to the fighting from Capitol Hill. We'll be right back.
Looking for a sofa or chair? Crescent Wholesale has hundreds in stock and thousands of fabrics for special order. Now 10% off the regular discounted price. Quality made, exceptional tailoring with 8-way hand-tied coil springs for comfort and durability, ready for immediate delivery. Now 10% off the regular discounted price, only at Crescent Wholesale Furniture.
If you've lived in Tennessee all your life, it's easy to take things for granted, like the tall trees and green grass of the Tennessee countryside, beautiful lakes, country cooking, and the friendliest of people.
Let me help you with that. Thank you, I appreciate it.
And living in Nashville, there's always lots of fun things to do, like great music and pro football. While away at college, I missed all those things. And now that I'm back working with my dad as a personal injury lawyer, Nashville just seems like a great big small town. Everybody here knows my dad.
Hey, Bart, how you doing? Hey, Kevin.
And it looks like a lot of people are getting to know me.
You play a girl? Yes, I am. What's your...
I've met some of the bravest and most wonderful people in my work, and I'm honored that they've placed so much trust in me. And the moment I recognized what really gave my life meaning,
I should have this.
Thank you, Blair.
I knew I could never, ever take it for granted.
Call Attorney Bart Durham, 242-9000.
Justice is your right, and we demand it.
America at War coverage continues on a special edition of The Early Show. Stay with us.
Whoa!
There's nothing as huge as the JCPenney Huge Sale. Huge savings of 20 to 60% off. Doorbuster deals from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And an extra 10% off. Saturday only.
It's all inside.
JCPenney.
I got a $50 bid. Can I get a 55? Who'll give me 55? Come on, I'll give you 55. I got a 50. Come on, baby.
Could Procrit be right for you?
45. Sold, bro.
Talk to your doctor about Procrit or call 1-800-PROCRIT.
Introducing the Saturn Ion. Specifically designed and engineered for whatever's next. Get a 2003 Saturn Ion L Series or View at 0% APR financing for 5 years. For restrictions, see your retailer.
Tonight on The Late Show, Dave opens up the CBS mailbag.
You know, for a big man, you're remarkably agile.
Plus, Andy Richter and Is This Anything tonight.
It's mascots, it's mayhem, it's March Madness. 65 teams with one chance to advance. The madness continues on CBS.
The Early Show continues now from the General Motors building at Trump Plaza in New York City.
As you no doubt know by now, Iraq responded to the first U.S. attack with missile strikes against Kuwait. That left everybody there on edge, fearing another missile attack, even one that could possibly contain deadly chemicals. Stephen Black is a former UN weapons inspector and a CBS News analyst. Good morning again, Stephen. All right, we want to talk about a very important detail of this war. You are going to give us a primer on mobile missile launchers. What are they and why are they so important?
Well, it's these missile launch warnings that we've been hearing in Kuwait City and elsewhere on the battlefield. Those come as a result of detections that Iraq has fired missiles from inside its territory, and principally these missiles we're worried about are fired off of mobile trucks.
All right, let's talk about the process, how they're exactly fired.
Well, I think we have a good animation of this. The first thing is to bring together the missile and the warhead, which are stored in two different places usually, and load them onto what's called a transporter erector launcher, a TEL. Then the missile gets fueled, and other guidance things are checked out in the missile, and then eventually it's driven from this safe area where it's loaded up to a launch point close enough to the target. The missile's erected and fired. Now, as soon as this missile gets fired, coalition forces have got a pretty good bead on where that launch took place, so they're going to send aircraft there to try to attack this launcher. So the launcher scoots away to some area of concealment or cover, like a highway overpass or a ditch in the ground covered with a tarp.
How tough is it then, once they give away their location, to actually hit these mobile launchers, because we didn't manage to do so during the first Gulf War?
No, in 1991, an enormous amount of effort was expended on trying to shut down all the missile launches, and they didn't succeed once in getting to them. And in large part, that's a function of the response time between detecting a launch, where you know where the missile came from, and getting aircraft to that point to try to blow something up. If the Iraqis can scoot away and get a couple miles away and under cover before the aircraft get there, they won't have any success.
All right, how important is it to determine what kinds of missiles were fired? In other words, were Scud missiles fired?
Well, that's the big question, because the Scuds, of course, the Al Hussein, the local Iraqi derivative of the Scud, those are prohibited systems in Iraq, and the government of Iraq has been saying for a dozen years now that they don't have any of them. So if we find that those have been launched, that puts a lie to everything the government of Iraq has been saying.
Do you expect them to keep firing more missiles?
I think they'll keep firing them as long as either, one, they're getting the order, the Iraqi units are getting the order to fire, or until they get pushed back far enough into Iraq that Kuwait's no longer in range. But they may still keep targeting U.S. forces. And of course, there's the hope that we'll take out the missile launch vehicles, of which there are very few, and a missile without a launcher is pretty much useless.
And we're just about out of time, but you do believe that there are Scuds and Scud launchers in Iraq,
yeah, pretty much the widely held assessment is about 7 to 12 of these long-range Al Hussein type missiles.
All right, Stephen Black, thanks so much. We will no doubt talk to you again soon, and we'll have complete coverage of the conflict in Iraq ahead in our next hour. This is The Early Show on CBS.
Hi, I'm Mel Tillis, and music is my life, and hearing is awfully important to me. That's why I rely on National Hearing Centers. National offers some of the finest hearing aids in the world at prices much lower than their competitors. So why pay more when you can get the best for less? Call National today or just stop by and say hello. Hey, they're in your neighborhood Walmart stores. You know, sometimes I may not talk too good, but I can sure hear good. Thanks to National. National Hearing Centers, the quality you expect at the prices you deserve.
The perfect accessory for your right foot. Cadillac CTS. Breakthrough.
Current Cadillac owners or smart lease lessees can lease a new 2003 CTS for about $399 a month at your Cadillac dealer.
What's up, baby?
Bringing Down the House is the #1 movie 2 weeks in a row.
Shazam.
Steve Martin.
Hey, yo, what's the dealio?
Queen Latifah.
You got me straight tripping, boo.
Bringing Down the House. Rated PG-13, boo. Now playing.
Keep watching News Channel 5 for continuing coverage of America at War.
That's me with his whole family.
So you on a farm?
Yeah, imagine with my allergies.
Go where you wanna go. Do what you want.
This is Trisha.
Now, there's a new and different way to treat seasonal allergies. Singulair, the only seasonal allergy medicine that specifically blocks leukotrienes, an underlying cause of allergy symptoms. It's a once-a-day tablet that helps relieve a broad range of symptoms for a full 24 hours.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Ask your doctor about Singulair.
Oh my
Morning.
Good morning.
Ready to go for a tractor ride?
Go where you want.
think I did just fine.
Singulair, a different way to treat seasonal allergies.
It's mascots, it's mayhem, it's March Madness. 65 teams with one chance to advance. The madness continues on CBS.
As events unfold overseas, they affect us here at home. Experience the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good morning, I'm Susan McGinnis. More ahead on a special edition of the Early Show. First, here's a look at this morning's headlines. U.S. forces are conducting an intensive search in southern Afghanistan for al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Helicopters scouring the rugged mountainous region are providing support for soldiers conducting house-to-house searches. 12 people have been arrested. A hearing officer is recommending 2 Air Force pilots not be court-martialed. They were accused in the so-called friendly fire bombing that killed 4 Canadian soldiers in Afghanistan. The hearing officer ruled it a mistake. The final decision rests with an Air Force commander. For some, the war with Iraq can seem like an abstraction, a conflict in some distant place over a foreign policy issue. But there are real people involved, soldiers and sailors. Bob McNamara reports from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, on some families left behind.
War's beginning brought a rush of fear to this Army town.
We all realize it's real and that we have no control over what goes on.
23, 57.
While life is usually by the numbers and by the book, war is a wild card.
No sleep. A lot of explaining to the kids to do. That Daddy's not going to come home as soon as maybe we thought he would.
Cheryl Snap keeps her husband Frank close.
Well, I have his dog tags that he gave me. He had these made for me to keep with me and close as a reminder.
With 19,000 of Fort Campbell's airborne troops in the war zone, reservists are arriving here for processing, like the medical attention necessary for them to join the fighting. Rick Mullins is one of 7 Tennessee reservists headed for the war zone with their sons. He promised his wife their son Jeff would come home, even if it meant giving his own life.
I'll guarantee you, no question, in my mind, he'll come home before I will if I have to. If I got anything to say about it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Dozens of soldiers were married by Judge Steve Tribble just before they left for the Gulf.
It was a hectic day. It was wild.
His fear is some of those names could appear on casualty lists.
Absolutely. And I mean, there may be several of them that don't come back.
This was one of his patches, and I had kept it with me all this time.
Seamstress Marilyn Fry's brother was killed in the Gulf War. Now she works 12 hours a day, sewing airborne patches to uniforms for another desert conflict.
We never got to say goodbye, but, you know, you get over it. I mean, you actually never get over it, but you deal with it.
Marilyn Fry has sewn thousands of these flags on uniforms lately. And like many here, she is hoping and praying that the men and women who wear them will come back to Fort Campbell alive. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
And around Denver, the cleanup continues from the worst blizzard in 90 years. Up to 7 feet of snow fell in some places. Flights resumed at the airport, which had been closed. The snow ripped a hole in the tent-like fabric that covers the airport's main terminal. There is more ahead on the Early Show with our continuing coverage of America at War. I'm Susan McGinnis.
Did you ever have to make up your mind?
Say yes to one and leave the other behind.
Did you ever have to make up your mind?
Make up your mind between Schlotsky's Turkey Original Sandwich with our famous sourdough bread and the new light Tuscan Turkey Sandwich with artichoke lemon pesto.
Say yes to one and leave the other behind.
Original or lighter? You decide.
Oh, did you ever have to finally decide?
January 2005. 22 months, over 630 days, 16,000 plus hours. A real long time from now. In other words, you have like forever to pay for the Rooms to Go furniture you buy today. No tricks, no harm, no mandatory monthly payments, and absolutely no interest adding up. It's a free ride till January 2005 to celebrate our Rooms to Go 12th anniversary. That's first payment January 2005. The real deal now at Rooms to Go.
Friday at 5, News Channel 5's coverage of America at War continues with the very latest from the front lines of Iraq. That's Friday on News Channel 5 at 5.
Look for an American flag poster in Saturday's paper from the Tennessean and News Channel 5.
Day 2 of the war with Iraq brings the first ground offensive and the first soldier killed in action, a Marine shot and killed in southern Iraq. Hours earlier, 4 other Americans and 8 British soldiers were killed in a helicopter crash in Kuwait. Meanwhile, the air assault on Baghdad continues as Saddam Hussein's main palace, we understand, was hit overnight. We'll have the latest on America at War early this Friday morning, March 21st, 2003.
From CBS News, this special edition of The Early Show is part of our continuing coverage of America at War.
Good morning and welcome to The Early Show, special coverage of America at War. It is 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. now here on the East Coast, 7 Pacific time.